passes last year. This one's knocked up. Bowers tips it to himself, and he'll score.
Snaps it anyway. Greer lobs it in the air. Whoa, he has trouble with the snap, and the ball is free. It's picked up by Michigan State's Jalen Jackson, and he scores on the left. Here's a blast, and Klubnik didn't see it coming. He got blasted by Kalen DeLoach, who has the ball and is heading toward the end zone.
What's going on, guys? We're here, episode 49 of College Football Talk, and we have our Week 11 preview here on this fine, beautiful Thursday night. We are in the midst of a huge weekend of football, plenty of games to talk about, 2 top 10 showdowns, multiple ranked matchups. We are going to hop right into it, but make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube and Spotify channel. Make sure you guys are watching and liking with a big thumbs up, as you guys always do. Make sure, remember, subscribe. Trying to get to 100 subscribers. We were at 68 last time I checked. So still got some ways to go, but we're almost there. Come on. We got this. And let's get right into it, Dylan. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Awesome. So we're going to start where game day will be this week. It's the game of the week in my eyes. Some people would say Penn State, Michigan. That's fine too. I would think that this game has the more impact because if there's a lot of just rabbit hole scenarios you can start playing with. Biggest one is it really falls to the 3:30 game with Tennessee, Missouri. If Tennessee goes into Missouri and wins, and Georgia loses Saturday night, it sets up the SEC East championship game in Knoxville, Tennessee. And I know Tennessee fans would love that.
Yeah.
There's another scenario where Tennessee loses and Georgia clinches the East before they even start. So plenty of things to unwind and unravel. If Ole Miss needs to win this game, if they want to keep up with Bama or have a shot to win the West, it's unlikely with Bama's remaining schedule. So, but the biggest thing is if Tennessee wins and Georgia loses, it sets up a SEC East play-in game to get to Atlanta. So, early thoughts, predictions on this one?
I mean, obviously Georgia is the favorite. They should be the favorite. I think they're a lot better than Ole Miss still is, but I think this is the best Ole Miss Lane Kiffin team we've yet to see. I think, we've all had our, thoughts on what Jackson Dart is at quarterback, right? But if you look at just his pure numbers this year, he's been a great quarterback. I mean, his completion percentage isn't the best thing in the world, but low turnovers, 16 touchdowns, same number as Carson Beck has. I mean, they're 8-1 for a reason. This is a good football team. This is not a cakewalk for Georgia. I think this is going to be just like the game last week against Missouri, where they're going to be in a tough battle for 90% of this game. Because I think with Alabama, I think Ole Miss has almost like that's a hill they have to climb. Going against Georgia is just put everything on the table, right? So I think they're going to play Georgia harder than they played Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, both Georgia does what Bama does do really good too, and that's second half adjustments.
Yeah.
You could look back at the Missouri game. They made a lot of really big second half adjustments to really help separate themselves in that game.
Yeah.
The biggest thing for me will be what I'm looking at from an Ole Miss perspective. I kind of look at how the Florida game went, where they need to get explosive plays. They're really good at explosive plays. They have 65 explosive plays of 20-plus yards or more, and that's third in the country. Offensively, they're averaging around 38 points a game. Little nugget, though, they're averaging about 20 less points a game on the road than they do at home, as well as about close to about 200, almost 200 yards less also on the road. So dramatic differences, which could play an impact with the crowd and stuff, but they have got to be able to get explosive plays. Georgia does not allow a bunch of explosive plays. They're 12th in the country in explosive play defense. And defensively, they're only allowing about 15 points a game, which is 6th in the country. So it's good on good. Like you said, Ole Miss is really explosive, really good offensively. I definitely think Lane Kiffin's got a few tricks up his sleeves that he's been waiting specifically for this game.
Mm-hmm.
So I expect them to score points because Georgia has shown that they will score points.
Yeah.
But they're also able to score a bunch of points too. So I look at Ole Miss's defense, which ranks middle of the pack-ish.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not anything crazy. They do get after the quarterback really well, which Georgia has. But Georgia does help protect well. They didn't really protect a lot very well last year or last week, per se.
Mm-hmm.
So Ole Miss needs to get pressure on Beck, and we haven't seen Beck fall at all this year. He's been one of the only quarterbacks for the first year guys that has been able to stay steady or at least elevate. So can Ole Miss get pressure and make things uncomfortable? That's going to be something Pete Golding's going to have to be able to really draw up some sort of scheme to maybe confuse Beck, do something to get him off schedule. I think that's the biggest thing. I don't know if you would agree or not. But if Ole Miss really wants to win,
I think you're absolutely right.
The way that Beck and this offense has been rolling, it's like you've got to find a way to get him off schedule. Because the way so far nobody's been able to really do it. So he's just kind of been able to look over there. Oh, he's not available. McConkey's not available. Okay, let me go to Oscar Delp. He's right there. Robert Thomas is right there, but he's kind of covered. So I'm going to toss it over here to Dominic Lovett for a big play. Mm-hmm. It's just been routinely rhythm. I mean, he's finding the holes and picking defenses apart.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, look, for Ole Miss to win this game, they need to not only make Carson Beck uncomfortable, they need to figure out how to score a ton of points on this Georgia defense.
Yeah.
Which has not been easy. I mean, just looking through Georgia's schedule this year, who's really scored the most on them? What? Missouri, 21 points?
21 points is the most. Yeah, because, I mean, and we're not even talking – we're talking non-junk time, too, because Florida put up 20, and 2 of those were in junk time. So, Florida – I mean, and Georgia has – when Georgia has to wake up for a game and be ready to roll, they have shown that they're still one of the best teams in the country. They don't beat themselves. Listen, I always say, if you want to beat Georgia, you want to beat the best, you're going to give them your best shot, because right now everyone's tried or at least attempted to, and none of them have succeeded. Georgia, 11 straight home wins against ranked opponents at home. That's a nice little.
That's a good streak. That's a good streak. Yeah, I mean, just saying. Yeah, Missouri's put the most points on them, tied with UAB.
Yes, and even UAB really.
I mean, that was mainly junk time.
Here's a little.
But UAB put up a good fight in that first half in that game. I'll tell you that.
A little nugget also. I like 2 more nuggets right here for you. Mm-hmm. 1, red zones. We talked about red zone last week. What did Missouri not do? Well, what are they really good at? They're good at scoring in the red zone, but they don't score a lot of touchdowns. Mm-hmm. Ole Miss is 65th in the country in red zone efficiency. Georgia, 117th. We talked about last week how Georgia does struggle against teams in the red zone defensively. Mm-hmm. Can Ole Miss do something that Missouri couldn't do and score? Because that really made the difference. Also, third downs. I'm going to be looking at third downs. I'm a big third down guy.
Yeah.
As I always do. Third downs. Georgia is 3rd in the country in third down conversion rate on defense. Ole Miss is 97th in the country in third down offensively. So, again, vice versa. You could look at where was I? Hold on a second here. Vice versa. Georgia is 4th in the country in third downs on offense. Ole Miss is 81st in the country on third down defense. So right there, I mean, Georgia controls both sides. That is what we've seen with team after team. I mean, I have a offensive offensive ranks pulled up for Georgia. If it's in green, they're really good. In about all the major categories, they're green and in top 10s. And so They just are really good.
Yeah.
I just think Ole Miss is going to give it their best shot, but I just think it's too much Georgia. At home, the crowd's going to be in crazy. It's looking like it may rain a lot, and it's going to be cold. So expect whoever maybe can run the ball really well. I do look also for looking at matchups. That outside for Ole Miss offensively, it's going to be they got to be able to figure out a way to get Tay Harris involved. He's on the outside. He is very good, really tall, and I'm going to probably have to see him matched up with Kamari Lassiter, I would say. So we're going to see how Jackson Dart, who's been very efficient, very good this year. I look for him. He's got to be able to use his legs like Brady Cook has so far, or did last week some, to keep the defense, make Georgia play with the spy. So where now they got to get rid of one guy to be like, okay, now I got to focus on him. So Tay Harris on the outside against Kamari Lassiter is going to be something. For Georgia to Ole Miss, it's got to be, I think it's Deshaun Edwards has got to have a big game this weekend.
Yeah.
I think they got to be able to run the ball, especially if it's going to be rainy and wet. You don't want to be throwing the ball around like that. He's got to have to run the ball. Teams that don't turn the ball over less is going to win this game. I'm going to say it right there. Also, Brock Bowers may play in this game. Those aren't – I mean, he is trending. While they're reading a lot of stuff, there is a shot. He is more likely to play than he isn't to play, is what I'm hearing. So they get him back, that's even bigger trouble.
Yeah. No, that'd be big for them. I mean, if I'm Ole Miss, though, the biggest things you want to do is you want to get the ball to your playmakers. You want to be able to get Trey Harris really involved in this game.
Trey Harris.
I mean, he's averaging 19 yards a carry. You need to get him with the ball in this game. And same with Judkins. That guy, monster running back right there.
Quintez Junkins, yeah. Trey Harris. Who was I going to find out? I was trying to see. Yeah, Trey Harris has almost 800 yards receiving. Quintez Junkins has almost 800 yards rushing. Like you said, got to be able to get those guys going. Get your playmakers going. Because like I said, if you want to beat Georgia, your guys, you have to play your best game, mistake-free, and it's got to have the perfect storm. So, predictions. What do you like in this game?
You know what? I'm going to say this.
Okay.
I'm calling the upset.
All right.
Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin finally get a big signature win.
All righty.
They win 30-27.
All right, I'm just writing this down. So when we come back here Tuesday night, if they lose, I'm going to have it right here.
Okay.
So Ole Miss snaps Georgia's 26-game winning streak.
Yep.
26-game winning streak. All right. So we're going to write that right there. I got it right here on this flashcard.
Okay.
Everyone to see. If you're watching listening on Spotify, Dylan is picking Ole Miss to snap Georgia's win streak and create utter chaos because he apparently likes Bama. So congrats there, Dylan. I am going to take Georgia.
Bama.
I think Georgia's going to win. I think the crowd's going to look for this to be a similar game, I think, to last year's Tennessee game, where the crowd is going to play a huge impact in this game. And it's going to be an awesome atmosphere, crazy environment. And I think Beck and that offense continue to roll. The defense holds up. I like the 40 to 27. So we are going to move on. Georgia, Ole Miss, 7 o'clock, ESPN. Watch. We're heading now to Big Noon Kickoff. I'd say the second biggest game of the day. Some people say this is the biggest game of the day. I would tend to disagree. But
I mean, we're talking it's 2 versus 9, which is Georgia, Ole Miss versus 3 versus 10.
Yes.
I mean, generally you would go the slightly higher ranked matchup, but you know.
For sure. So Michigan, Penn State. Big Noon Kickoff's going to be there. It is the Big Ten game of the week. And what was I going to say? Penn State looks to get a massive win. If they get a win here and Michigan beats Ohio State, then we have the round robin draw to where it's used now. Look at, I don't even know what you look at to figure out who's going to win the East. Michigan comes in rolling. cheating along the way, but rolling. Yep. And this is now the season starts for them. Is that a bad thing, you think? That now they have to wait till week 11 to play their first game? Preseason's finally over for them. They have to start playing people.
I mean, who cares? You already know what they're going to do. Every team you play.
Yeah.
Except for the 4 non-conference games where they struggled because they couldn't.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I think the biggest thing for me is going to be if Michigan's going to be able to run the football. Last year, they rushed for over 400 yards on Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
This year, they ranked 50th in the country in rushing offense. Penn State, one of the best defenses in the country. They ranked first in rushing defense, first in sacks, second in first downs allowed, ninth in third down conversion rate, 13th against the pass, second in turnovers. So defensively, they wear you down. And you look, even the Ohio State game, it was a late touchdown that ended up being the game breaker, and they only allowed 20. So Penn State, if they got to win, the defense has got to play well. But I also do think that if you're Michigan, where you can catch Penn State lacking, is kind of similar to where Georgia is. Red zone, 35th in the country offensively, Michigan is. Penn State defensively is 98th. So if you get down there, there is a window there where you can take advantage of that. I think if you're Michigan, you got to be able to do that. Yeah. Somehow, some way, it's just going to be the first real test for J.J. McCarthy again in a hostile environment against a real defense. Can he come up big for this Wolverine offense? What do you think?
Yeah. So I do think I do like Michigan in this spot.
All right.
I'm going to be honest with you. There's something with James Franklin where he decides to just not go for wins. He coaches very conservatively, especially with his offense. Offenses going against top 10 teams. I don't get it. It makes zero sense. And to me, Michigan is by far the best defense they played this year. So to me, everything boiling together just seems like a very hyped up matchup where Michigan will just embarrass Penn State on national TV.
Embarrass. Strong words from Dylan. I mean, if you look, Michigan, if we're looking vice versa, I really think that Michigan is just up there defensively as Penn State is defensively.
Yeah.
If you're looking for an offense, I think Penn State's got to be able to find a way to get downfield shots.
Yeah.
They've got to be able to do that. I mean, because Michigan, the problem is Michigan's ranked first against the pass. And so, but you could say, well, they really haven't played anybody. Maybe that's true. Maybe they just haven't been tested. But vice versa.
You can say that, but at the same time,
Penn State hasn't really done much either. They did put 55 up on Maryland last week, so maybe they woke up or something, and now they can just start slinging the ball around.
I mean, you could say it, but the thing is with like Michigan's defense, they've only given up double digits to 2 teams this year.
Yeah.
I mean, you can say their defense hasn't been tested, but everybody on their schedule, they've more or less murdered.
Yeah.
They don't keep it close. They don't let them get even garbage time points. So, like, I can't imagine the team that beat Indiana 52-7 struggles with the team that beat Indiana 33-24. I know transitive property doesn't work like that in college football, but just the way these teams are composed, it just feels like Michigan is a team that is made to throttle teams like Penn State.
And that could be very much so. I mean, this could be a game where it could be a just slow, agonizing, painful chokehold that Michigan puts on them. But I just think these two teams are evenly matched, honestly. And I just think the fact that Penn State or Michigan this is really the first time they're going to play a team that is somewhat up to their standards. Yeah. I think that they get punched in the mouth early. The crowd gets into it, and I almost think they kind of start going into that in and out phase. I don't know. It just feels like when you go 11-9, this is week 11, and you're finally playing someone that is up to your standard. Yeah. It feels like it's just a recipe for disaster. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I mean,
see, I think that's where me and you disagree. I don't think Penn State is on Michigan's level.
well, maybe they're not. I mean, Vegas says Vegas has Michigan as a 4.5-point favorite, so it's not like they're crazy separated.
ESPN favors Penn State in this game too.
Well, I mean,
I disagree with a lot
of
of.
course, they're going to be favored, but
no, Penn State's favored over Michigan according to ESPN.
Oh, well, against what, the FBI?
Yep, 50 to 49.6.
I mean, like if you're looking strictly on paper, I mean, Michigan has the better stats offensively and defensively. But again, it's Purdue, Michigan State, Indiana, Minnesota, Nebraska. I mean, those are the last
that's
5.
The thing is, Penn State has played a lot of those same teams, and they don't beat them like that.
I don't know. It just feels
like I said, 33-24 against Indiana.
I mean, coming off a tough loss against Ohio State, a little sleepwalk game next game.
Let's see. I mean, it's just, to me, it just doesn't feel like these teams are really on the same level. If you get what if you try, you know what I'm saying? That there's like, if you like to think about that there's tiers to college football, right? You have your top teams, and then it goes down from there. Penn State is a tier below Michigan still. They're just not that team yet. And so I that's how I feel about this game. What's your score prediction? What do you think?
I think Penn State wins this. I think they win. I think it's a low scoring. I think it's a down to the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Penn State's going to win this 23 to 20.
I'm putting that on my notes.
All right, put it down on your notes. That 23-20, the Nittany Lions pull off a big win and
23-20?
23-20.
Okay. So, I'm going to disagree with you. I think Michigan wins 31-10. That Penn State really never has it going. They seem off edge to start. Michigan gets the ball first and drives downfield. The crowd kind of goes in and out. I just think this is a bad, especially for a noon game. If this was a night game, I could see Penn State pulling it up, but a noon kickoff, 31 degrees outside. I mean, this is not. This is a bad situation for Penn State, in my opinion. If they would have gotten this as a night whiteout game, I could absolutely say, okay, you know what? There's an opportunity where Penn State could pull the upset, but with this, I just don't see it.
I see it. I see the light. I see the vision. I have a vision.
This just feels like a situation where, they're at 11:40, 11:59, they're playing Mo Bamba to get the crowd into it, and then at 12:30, the crowd might be completely silent.
Well, you're wrong, so I'm sorry. All right, we're moving on to FSU Miami. This is the 3:30 game on ABC.
Yep.
Miami comes in at 6-3. FSU 9-0. FSU is a 14-point favorite right now.
Yep.
And big thing for me is that this game could have been a lot more hyped up if Miami wouldn't have lost, let's say, to NC State or Georgia Tech. So, but they come in 6-3. But I just think this is a spot where Florida State is going to get them and crush them.
Look, you go first.
Biggest thing for me is offensively, Miami turns the ball over a lot on offensively. They're ranked 125th in the country in turnovers.
Yeah.
FSU's middle of the pack defensively, but if you're turning the ball over a bunch against FSU when they have that kind of offense, you're just asking for trouble. And I just think that's what's going to end up happening. I think this might become a really sloppy game. FSU beat them 45-3 last year in Miami. It wasn't even remotely ever close. Obviously,
that was the most Miami fans I've ever seen in a building before, and they were all gone before the fourth quarter.
Nice. I want to look at this. There's too many weapons, I think, for FSU that is going to overwhelm Miami.
Yeah.
And I like Tyler Van Dyke. I like that Miami squad. I just think this is a tough matchup for them. FSU gets, they win this. You get to 10-0. You still have so much more to play for, and I think that little slip up. You guys get Coleman and Wilson back this week too,
Yep.
so you're getting your playmakers back. Got to be all Knowles this weekend.
Yeah. So I mean, look, this is the way I'm looking at this, right? Miami has had a lot of problems this year. I mean, just looking at their offense turns the ball over a ton. Their defense is really hit or miss. You know what I mean? You have times where their safeties play like all pros, and at other times when they give up every bit of yardage they can. To me, that just feels like the perfect spot for Florida State to blow out a team. This is the way it looks to me. You call me biased because I'm a Florida State fan, but Miami, Tyler Van Dyke has 11 interceptions this season, and there's discussions on whenever if he's even going to start this game because the backup looks better in practice sometimes.
Yeah,
this is just a horrible spot to be in if you're Miami.
Florida State is 9th in the country in scoring offense.
Mm-hmm.
So they're putting up almost 40 points a game, it looks like,
Yep.
where Miami is they are ranked, where was it? I just saw them. They were middle of the packish, middle of the pack, and scoring defense. So they're not really stopping. They're letting teams score on them, which, again, is not the best recipe if you're going to try to pull off an upset. But, again, I've seen some crazy stuff happen. Maybe
they took
Miami
Virginia to overtime. They lost to NC State 20-6. I mean, I don't believe this Miami team has the potential to pull the upset off in Tallahassee in front of a sold out crowd. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think it's just.
I will say, if
last year was Miami's one chance to knock off.
If Miami wants to do two things, I think there's two spots where maybe you can catch Florida State from if you're Miami defensively. You do rank top 10 in sacks this year.
Yeah.
So, and Florida State does tend to give up sacks. They rank 28th in the country. So there's room there, as well as they're really good against the run. They're 9th in the country against the run, where FSU's 58th. So maybe you make Florida State one-dimensional, and that way then you completely change their game plan on. Because if you make Florida State one-dimensional, there's room where you can just kind of play coverage ball and keep the eyes on really just Coleman and Wilson. Make sure, and then just but now they got to keep Travis contained.
Exactly, that's the problem. That's you got to find out a way to not only, if you could make Florida State one-dimensional, but also make Florida State not able for the quarterback to just run at any time, which they have shown they will do. In a situation where their offense looks one-dimensional, they will just give the ball to Jordan Travis,
they make a play.
Jakeem Bell give him, a block, and bam, that's a free 20 yards.
It's like when there's always a spot where they need to get something, it's Jordan Travis steps up.
Yeah. I mean, I watched the Pitt game. They won an entire football game off of running 40 screens.
Yeah,
and not even impressive screens. They read pretty bad screens and still won 24-7. This team knows how to win football games. There's a reason they're 9-0. They have the second or third longest win streak in the country. Yep. This Miami team knows how to blow games. This Miami team, for the most part, has struggled a lot. They're 2-3 in their past 5 games. Like, this is a team, for both of their 2 wins in this 5-game stretch, they've had to go to overtime to win. I just do not see this is not a good spot for Miami. Like, I hate to say this because it's a pretty good ABC 330, but really this game should be on ESPN2 because I don't think this is close.
ESPN2, man, Dilla from the top rope tonight.
I think I'm just being honest. This is gonna be one of those moments where people there's gonna be camera shots of like Mario Cristobal with a
what's your score prediction in there?
I'm going 45-10 Knowles.
Wow. I don't know if it's that much, but I'll like Florida State. I think they win 33-20.
33-20. Yeah. I feel like that's because I just going off Miami's games, they're going to turn the ball over at some point.
Yeah,
probably more than once. And
but
I don't.
I've watched Florida State play where they go long droughts without doing anything either.
Yeah.
So, if Miami can keep this a 4-quarter game, who's to say nothing else happens? Because I have seen, even when they blow out teams Florida State has, I'll take Syracuse, for example. That ended up being a fourth quarter just bloodshed.
Yeah.
But for a majority of that game, I watched Florida State get a turnover or force on downs and not doing anything with it. So
I will say they did win that game 41-3.
but check the box. But box score wise, that was a game for about 3.5 quarters. So I watched Florida State continuously turn the ball over, or they would get a big play on defense, get the ball back, and then not do anything with it. So they can't go watch the Duke game where they'll go a little period where it's just like, what can we do? But then they'll have that one big quarter or like that 10, 15-minute stretch where they'll just turn it on. So if Miami can keep this a 4-quarter game, all power to you. But I just think Florida State's going to have some sort of, that accelerated moment where it's like a shock, or they're just going to shock the system of Miami as Pittsburgh just scored. Love to see it. Florida State, 33-20.
Okay.
We're moving on. Utah, Washington, 3:30 Fox. I think this is a sneaky, sneaky game. Here's why.
Yeah, Utah versus Washington.
Utah goes into Washington. Washington, not very good defensively.
Yep.
They are just not good. Utah, not very good defensively or offensively.
Yep.
Oh, you're like, okay, well, then what are you talking about? Well, USC's I watched USC put up 42 against Washington's defense. I watched Oregon put up 33 against Washington's defense. I watched Utah put 35 on USC.
Yep.
And I can tell you right now, Utah probably has the better defense out of probably closer. Oregon's maybe gives them a slight lead in defensively, but Utah's right there. So, if you're looking defensively, Utah first against third downs, third against first downs, 34th against the pass, 6th against the rush, 19th yards per play, 14th in the country in sacks. They 55th in the country in turnovers. This feels like where I've seen this could be like where Michael Penix might struggle, but this time he may not get away with it against a really good defense.
Yeah.
But vice versa, Michael Penix, when we've seen them have to play a really big team, they have showed up and just completely turned it on. Like all systems go, cleared for takeoff.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the throws he was making against USC, but everyone gets right against USC. It's just still, it's like, man, like this guy is legit.
Yeah.
I'm really going to be excited to see this. So the Washington is not very good on running the football. They rank 100th in the country. And like I just said, USC is a top 6 team, a 6th in the country when it comes to rushing yards. So again, if you can make Washington one-dimensional, I don't care how good you are, but if you're going to become one-dimensional and throw the ball 60 times in a game, odds are the result isn't going to be what you want it to be.
Yeah.
So that's where I can see it. I think Utah's got to be able to turn the ball over. Washington doesn't.
And Michael Penix is, for the most part, he's kind of prone to it. 7 interceptions on the year.
Yeah. I mean, they're 67th in turnovers this year, so they will turn the ball over. No team's been able to do anything when they turn them over. That's the issue. But I'm telling you, I think Utah can really hang around in this game. Might even pull an upset. I don't know. Maybe. Maybe. Okay. I think that Utah-Oregon game was a little snapshot of a bad snapshot because Utah was coming off a big win against USC. Oregon coming off, I think they played Washington State. But, they're coming in. They got to win. It just felt like a bad spot, and Oregon obliterated them. But now Washington has kind of been, up and down since that Oregon game. You get the big one against USC, but you struggle against Stanford and Arizona State. It's like, okay, who are you going to get? I like Utah. I think Utah if they don't win, they're going to cover, I think, in this game. This is a close game. What do you like? What do you think?
I mean, I agree with you. I think it will be a close game, but if anything, I think this could be Michael Penix Jr.'s Heisman moment for him. Obviously,
Okay.
the one people are going to focus on is that Oregon game, just because big rival. But with this game, I think it's going to be a close game, and I think it's going to come down to Michael Penix's arm. I like the Huskies. I like them 28-21. Fourth quarter comeback win.
All
They're going to be
right.
down. I think they're down a score going into the fourth.
I like. Let me 1 second here. I like Bryson Barnes to lead the Utes into Husky Stadium
Mm-hmm.
to do I have the balls to say they're going to win? No, but I will cover. That was a long wait out right there. But I think that it's close, and I think Washington pulls ahead with a late field goal or something. Like, it's very close. I'm going to go 30. I'm going to go 31-27.
31
Very close
27.
game.
I think it will be
I think
close.
Washington's defense that struggles very much so
Yeah.
is going to keep Utah in this. So I think there's ways you can attack Washington's defense. Utah, what they love to do is run the football, 25th in the country. Washington is 63rd against the run and 124th against the pass. Even though Utah struggles against the off run or pass the ball, look at what you did against USC. They were able to stay on schedule. I think they can do that again against Washington, but I just think Washington has too many playmakers in offense to get the job, so they will get the job done.
Yeah. I do think if Penix loses this game, he could lose his chance at winning the Heisman.
Really? You think so?
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think people all of a sudden are going to say that, like, maybe he's not who we thought he was. Because I think if they lose this game, it's because Michael Penix doesn't go crazy. And they're going to, people are going to do the same thing people do, is that, the narrative that Michael Penix Jr. is not Michael Penix Jr. when he plays an elite defense. You know how people are.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they'll speak their mind.
Yeah. But that's where I think your boy Carson Beck might run in and get
Carson
to New York.
Telling you, dude, if Beck keeps rolling her up, just keeps on chugging.
I do think if it came down to a scenario where I think Jordan Travis would have an edge over him, because I think they'd say that he's more important to his team's success. But
then you could also say, though, but look what such and such is doing against such and such competition. Whereas, there's – because, I mean, I'm sure that plays some sort of a factor, like who you're playing and how you're doing it against them.
I think so to a degree, but I think also it's just like We're
going to move on, though. We'll keep thinking about it. That's a great question we'll talk about a couple weeks from now. All right, Tennessee, Missouri. We spoke about them a little bit earlier as far as the stakes go. Tennessee, a win, and they immediately switch over to watch Georgia and Ole Miss, where they will become a big Rebels fan. If they lose, the East is to Georgia. Tennessee is effectively eliminated from any SEC contention. So a huge game in Columbia, Missouri. Missouri looking to bounce back after a tough loss at Georgia. So right now, Tennessee is a 2-point favorite. Honestly, the biggest thing for me is going to be the bat in the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
And Tennessee rushes for a lot of yards, a game. They rank third in the country in the run.
Yep.
They are averaging. They're averaging almost over 200 yards a game on the ground.
Yep.
Whereas Missouri is ranked 27th. They don't allow a whole lot. About medium-ish pack as far as teams running on them. So if Tennessee has able to run the football, like they have been able to all year, they will have success. Because I think Joe Milton will be able to work off that, and that's how he gets rolling.
Yeah.
Now we've seen times where Tennessee's rush offense becomes stagnant. Look at Florida. Look at the Alabama game. Where they have struggled, and those are the games they've lost. So it really is pretty simple for me. It's if Tennessee can't run the ball, I think Missouri has enough playmakers on offense to win this game and win it maybe not handily like a blowout, but I think they
Yeah.
could win it by 9, 10, 11
Mhm.
points.
See, I'm mixed on this game because I think there's a chance because I think this will be a close game. I think both of these
Yeah.
teams are kind of evenly matched,
Yeah.
and I I I kind of lean Tennessee in this game just because I think Tennessee has something on there's like a chip on their shoulders. This game is going to mean a lot because they still play Georgia later. I think Missouri is a great team, but I do kind of think Tennessee's a little bit better.
So, another thing also,
Hmm.
Luther Burden may not play in this game. He got banged up last week, and
Yeah.
now there's concern that he may not play again this week.
Hmm.
So, if you're Missouri, who do you turn to? I think you got to
Yeah.
turn to, you got Theo Weiss on the outside. You got Cody
Hmm.
Schrader, who's able to run the ball really well on the outside. I think Brady Cook's got to have to play well. He's got to be able to use his legs. He can't turn the ball over. He started the year awesome, like not turning the ball over a whole bunch, and
Yeah.
now he's turned the ball over a couple times now in the last couple games, and it's like you need to not do that. As I was saying a little bit ago, I was just pulled it up finally. Missouri is 24th in the country in rush defense, only allowing about
Yeah.
just over 100 yards a game. So again, if you can keep them from running the ball, because Tennessee is not a pass first offense.
Hmm.
So I think this is where I keep talking about tonight, where like keep getting teams one dimensional.
Yeah.
Tennessee is 58th in the country in the pass. They don't want to pass the ball. This is not the same
Yeah.
team from last year as we've seen all year. So if you can get Milton, like what Bama has done and
Hmm.
Bama did and Florida did, get him to pass the ball first.
Yeah.
I think you're gonna win this game.
I mean the problem with them, is that Tennessee has three. I mean, they got two good running backs, and you got Milton, who also a good runner. I mean, they more or less have a three-headed attack on the rushing ground. So to them, it's always so easy to just switch out backs, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Jalen Wright has been a workhorse for them. He
mhm,
ranks 20. He's 25th in the country in rushing yards. Like
yeah.
he is a workhorse back for them.
Mhm.
But that's why I really do think like out of anything, it's gonna be the rushing offense versus the rushing
Yeah.
defense. That's really gonna decide this thing.
And I mean,
Missouri has a solid
yeah.
front
Mhm.
defensive line. So like they're gonna be able to limit them a little bit. Can they do that for 4 quarters, or will Tennessee start to wear them down? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I think that's what Georgia did a lot last week. They started to find success late in that game on the ground where they really
Mhm.
weren't last week, earlier in the game, but then they
Yeah.
started to see it last week. I saw a lot more big holes, big runs from Edwards and Milton. Can Tennessee replicate that? I think there's urgency Tennessee plays with,
Mhm.
but I just like Missouri here. I know this isn't me rooting for one team or another. I just think being back at home, obviously the Vegas has this at a 2-point spread, so like it's nothing close.
Yeah.
They're pretty much closer to even. I like Missouri to win this. I think they bounce back. I think they're able to limit Tennessee enough. Milton doesn't play the same on the road as Pittsburgh. Oh, that was a highlight. Never mind. A replay. Um,
Mhm.
Milton. I still don't trust him a lot on the road than I do at home. So that's why I'm going to take Milton, or not Milton. I'm going to take Missouri. Win this 30-21.
Okay. I like Tennessee in this spot. I
Okay.
think they're really going to be playing with the chip on their shoulder. They know that if it comes down to that Georgia game, they're going to put everything on the line. So I think
Yeah.
knowing that their season still isn't over really for them, they still have a chance till 7 o'clock. We'll see, but
Right.
but I think they play with a chip on their shoulder. I think they win in a close one. Similar, I think it ends up being a lot more similar to the A&M game than any of the other games this season. I do think Tennessee wins like 26 to 20 around there. You
Okay.
get like a weird number.
All right.
I think there's a lot of field goals in this game.
Nice.
Let me
nice.
just say that if you love field goals, you're gonna love this football game.
Well, if we're going field goals, I like Missouri's kicker more. Big old crowd. We're going to move on now to upset alert. I think we're going to push that game preview to upset alert.
Yeah, that's fair.
So upset alert, as we always
Mhm.
do every week on these preview shows. We're going to go. I got a whole list of teams, and we're really going to say who will dominate and just not worry. There's no upset on them. Who's going to be in a tight battle throughout and not cover, and who's going to get upset.
Mm-hmm.
My list this week includes Duke versus UNC. I'm going to pull up that line real quick on that game. UNC is currently, that game is at North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
North Carolina freshly ranked now. It is a 14.5-point spread for North Carolina. Excuse me. West Virginia at Oklahoma is currently 13. Yes. Bama's at Kentucky. I saw a stat.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Saban has won like 20. It was either, I don't know if it was consecutive games. Remember if it was consecutive games or not, but it was like, I think it was like 20 plus games or something that he's won in the 12:30 window.
Yeah.
So Nick Saban doesn't lose at noon, and it's in Lexington. But nonetheless, they were 10.5-point favorites heading to Kentucky this weekend. Texas Tech goes to Kansas. Kansas is a 4-point favorite. Georgia Tech at Clemson. Clemson's at 14.5. Arizona's at Colorado. Arizona's a 10.5-point favorite. Oklahoma State at UCF.
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma State is a 3-point favorite. Rutgers at Iowa. Iowa's a 1.5-point favorite. Texas at TCU. Texas minus 10. Florida at LSU. Jaden Daniels looks to be good to roll in that game. LSU's at 14. And then finally in the nightcap, USC at Oregon. Oregon is a 15-point favorite. Dylan, start you off. Who is likely to just blow the other team out?
I think Arizona beats Colorado by probably more than that that point spread. Like, I mean, Colorado just demoted their offensive coordinator,
which is crazy
because he's been the offense has been the best part of that team.
Because it's definitely his fault that he knows that they don't have an offensive line that's undersized and not have any depth. So
it's like it's not his fault that their quarterback chooses to take a sack instead of throwing the ball away. But besides that point, I do think Arizona's just been on a roll. Like they got some dogs down there. Bearcats crazy.
Go ahead, finish.
I was gonna say it's just that I think Arizona kills them.
I like Oregon to beat the brakes off of USC. I think USC's season is crumbling, as I predicted weeks ago. I told you this defense was going to eventually crumble, and the offense wasn't going to be able to save them. And you're seeing it now. They currently have 3 losses. Right? Yeah. And they're going to have a 4th loss after this week. Heading into Autzen, Oregon's at 15. I think they're going to win by 3+ scores. So give me the Ducks to blow out USC.
Okay. That's fair. But
Dylan, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, I think USC might be. I mean, we'll just have to see with their new defensive coordinator, their interim. But who knows? They got athletes. They got athletes. That's the only thing with me.
Just too much duck.
Yeah.
Who is the team to likely win but not cover?
Clemson.
They are at 14.5. Yes.
14.5 versus Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech is a good team. I don't know how Brent Pry did it, but he made Haynes King into a legitimate starting quarterback. He's looked good. They murdered Virginia last weekend. I do think Tech can keep this super close.
That's not a bad pick. I like. No. Give me LSU.
All right.
I don't know what it is.
Like Gainesville water.
No, it's just that what it is when I watch LSU's defense play, it's 7-on-7 football and it's flag football. it's like watching the Pro Bowl game. This is going to
Mhm.
be like watching the Pro Bowl game where a lot of offense
Yeah.
and absolutely defense is optional. It's going to be a two-hand touch festival. So I love the over in this game.
Mhm.
If not LSU, I'm going to lean Clemson as well. But I don't know. It
Yeah.
just feels like maybe Florida just goes in and with the screw it. We're just empty the playbook. And they just go in there and Graham Mertz lights up that defense like I know they can. I think they're going to be able to run the ball really well. LSU struggles against the run.
Mhm.
They struggle in every department defensively, but they struggle there, and those backs are going to get rolling. Are they going to win? Heck no. They ain't going to win, but they'll keep it close. I think they lose by 10 to 12, that range.
You want to know a fun fact?
Let's hear that fun fact.
Florida has not won in Tiger Stadium since 2016.
All right.
They've won twice in their last 10 games.
All right.
Florida is 2-8 against LSU in their last 8 games.
That's a good stat right there. Good stat to know.
Mhm.
I mean, LSU's going to win, so I didn't say.
I think LSU wins. I mean, I just think there's too much Tiger for Florida. If that makes sense to you, I just think they have so many weapons. They have so many. Like they know how to just run up scores. And yeah, their defense has problems, but
their defense has more than problems.
Florida's offense has had problems this year too, though.
Yeah,
where they've become one-dimensional. If they fall behind quick, they start throwing the ball, and when they're throwing the ball, they're losing that game.
True. That's true.
That's my only reason I think LSU could win by 2 touchdowns, because 14 points was only 2 touchdowns. That's the reason, like the 14.5, I go with Clemson. I'm like, that's a little high. Clemson's offense doesn't really score like that. So,
right. Who is your team that you're looking at and you're saying, like DEFCON 10 upset alert? Here we go.
So I was kind of mixed on 2.
Okay.
I think either Iowa or Kansas.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, here we go. Let me just cut you off real quick.
Yep. There you go.
LSU, I was talking about rushing, 102nd against the run defensively. Yeah. And again, what does Florida like to do? Run the football.
Run the football. Yeah.
That's why. There you go.
My only thing is if Florida goes down, though, because they're Billy Napier. They just decide to just get away from the run, and I never understand it. They did it last year against Florida State. We all saw them throw the ball 15 straight times and do nothing with that. It was like, what are you guys doing?
All right, continue what you're saying.
So I was saying Iowa, especially because Iowa's offense is anemic. Like it's almost like watching somebody with sickle cell anemia walk around on it's just like, oh, I don't like watching this. And Rutgers has a pretty good team, all things considered. I mean, they're not like conference winners or anything like that, but they got a solid
6-3.
Greg Schiano's turned around that program. I mean, we were talking about a couple of years ago that being the worst program in all of FBS, and now we're going, hey, they're bowl bound. What are we talking about? So I do think Rutgers pulls that upset 1.5. Come on, they got that. And I think the Texas Tech one is a little bit more out there, but I just think Kansas is on a little bit of a high right now. Especially, I mean, they're still partying after beating OU for the first time since the 90s. So I do think this could be an easy letdown spot. Texas Tech is not a big time opponent, but this is a team that has guys who can score. I mean, we've seen the Red Raiders put up points a couple times this season. They took Oregon to the wire.
Yeah, I think it's a sleep spot for Kansas. They got Kansas State next week.
Yep.
I think Texas Tech can attack that.
Mm-hmm.
I look at that West Virginia-Oklahoma game.
I was thinking about that one, but I was like, Oklahoma losing 3 straight.
13's a huge number. West Virginia just came off a blowout against BYU.
Mm-hmm.
And now you get Oklahoma, who's been reeling. I guess they still have some to play for. They have 2 losses. Both teams have 2 conference losses, so they got to win out and need help. But, man, I just think you're looking at one team's trending downhill and one team's
Yeah.
trending uphill. And West Virginia, I think they can go and stir up the Oklahoma defense that has been reeling. I think they have a good enough running attack with C.J. Donaldson, who has been a bell cow for West Virginia all year.
Yeah.
And I if Dylan Gabriel can find a way to get back on track, that's awesome. I don't know. I just think 13 is a massive number.
That is a big number.
I love West Virginia to cover in this game.
I think they'll cover
I don't even have
too.
to win, but I think they'll cover that number. But I think West Virginia, Oklahoma should be on high upset alert this week. So give me the Mountaineers, honorable mention behind it, because why not? Give me, let's see if UCF can stop the run this week.
I would love to see UCF win because people here would finally be happy.
Let's see if Ollie Gordon can get stopped by UCF. Doubt it, but hey, let's see it.
You never know. Gus Malzahn's always got tricks up his sleeve.
Always got that one upset up. And he couldn't get against Oklahoma. We'll see if he does against Oklahoma State. All right, we're going to round out the episode here. We got some best bets for everyone. We are tough week last week. But we're focused on this week. We're over 500. We have 20-17-1 this week or this year. So I got 5 plays. I got West Virginia plus 13, Oregon minus 15, UF at LSU over 63, Oklahoma State minus 3. There's a reason why I said honorable mention, because I wasn't ever going to say I think Oklahoma State's going to run UCF out of the building. Penn State plus 5.5. The line dropped to 4.5, but he locked it in earlier this week at 5.5. Kudos to you. So those are the best bets. West Virginia plus 13, Oregon minus 15, UF LSU over 63, Penn State plus 5.5, and Oklahoma State minus 3.
Yeah. Woo! That was a good show. Look, I'm still stuck on the Florida versus LSU thing. How has Florida only won twice in the last 10 matchups? They're all close games.
Close game. The Joe Burrow year, they only lost, I think, by 7.
Oh, the Joe Burrow, they lost by 2 touchdowns. But
2 touchdowns, but that was a back and forth game for most of the game.
Yep. I will say
the Marco Wilson throw.
Yep. 37-34. The most funny one is 2017 LSU won 17-16.
There was the 2021 game when they went to overtime, didn't they?
Yep.
I was randomly thinking about that today. 2021, how they played Alabama, LSU, Georgia, all in the same year. It's almost like they were Auburn for a second.
Yeah.
Enjoy week 11, guys. It's going to be a great week.
I think so too.
The picture's starting to come together here as we come down the stretch here in college football regular season, but we still got a lot to play for. So buckle up for this weekend. 2 top 10 matchups, a lot of ranked games. Enjoy this weekend. We'll see you Tuesday. Make sure you guys are subscribing, liking, and watching. We'll see you Tuesday. Peace out.
See you guys.